and welcome to the August edition of PatchWatch. The long hot record-equalling summer came to an abrupt end in August, and the temperatures were lower than average, and there were many days of rain, which has had a notable effect on the wildlife down the patch. But whilst the weather has made it more difficult to see anything, there are still plenty of things to be found if you know where and how to look. A patch of thistles on one side of the cycle path has finished flowering, but if you take a closer look you can see it has a number of bulges on the stems. These swellings are caused by the thistle gall fly, a small but striking fly. Each gall contains one or more chambers where the larvae remain until the thistle dies down in the autumn. They will pupate in the spring, but cannot emerge until the galls break down later in midsummer, and the adult fly emerges and then lays their eggs in the tips of young shoots to start the next generation. Just up along from the creeping thistles there is a sprawling bramble growing over the fence. It is considered a nuisance pest by many, but it supports a huge diversity of wildlife and is used as a refuge by even more, using the vicious thorns for protection. A number of species make their home in bramble through the breeding season, and many more use its resources for food later in the year. Some of its leaves look a little sickly, and if you have a closer look you will find clusters of purple patches. This is caused by a fungal infection called violet bramble rust. It is common in this country and our brambles are able to cope with the infection, but violet bramble rust has been successfully used to biologically control brambles in countries where it isn't a native plant. A little late, but the bramble flowers are still attracting pollinating insects like this tiny hoverfly. It doesn't have a common name and is known as Cerita pipiens, which is quite distinctive of its massive thighs on the back legs. You can tell the sex of some flies by looking at the compound eyes. Males have larger eyes which reach on top of the head, whilst the females have smaller eyes that are clearly separated. So this is a female making the most of the pollen still being offered so late in the year. This male Heliphilus pendulus is also taking advantage of the late flowers, and if you look just to the right you can see another hoverfly, Bacca elongata, a skulking insect that is easily missed. Much to my surprise, this diminutive hoverfly managed to displace the larger Heliphilus to take over the feeding. The strange growths on the oak on the opposite side of the cycle path are caused by the knockagall wasp. There are two generations of these wasps each year, a sexual generation and an asexual generation. It is the asexual generation that lays its egg into the developing acorn, which then causes it to mutate into the galls. Green and sticky to begin with, the gall takes on a reddish tinge as it matures and then becomes brown and woody. The galls will eventually fall from the tree and lie on the ground until the spring, when the sexual generation will hatch, and it is this generation that will lay their eggs into the male catkins of turkey oak. On the underside of the oak leaves, spangled galls can be found in great quantities. These are caused by the asexual generation of a different wasp. Each disc contains a single larva which will stay on the leaf until later in the year when it will fall off. The adult sexual generation will hatch in the spring and lay their eggs in the male catkins of the same oak, which then causes a different type of gall called a currant gall. Oak trees are vitally important for our wildlife and support many more species than any other native tree. They host hundreds of species of insects which in turn supply many birds with an important food source. Every part of the oak is used for food, shelter and breeding. It also supports many different types of fungus, including this wonderfully named chicken of the woods. This species mainly grows on hardwoods and especially oak. It is a parasite and will cause the wood to rot and can even eventually kill the tree. It is an edible fungus and it is supposed to have the texture and taste of chicken, but it can cause gastric upsets for many and it is safest to leave well alone. Close by, some young common alder have also been parasitised by a fungal pathogen. This one infects the female catkins early in the year and causes a gall called alder tongue that will produce millions of spores that will be spread by the wind. Alder tongue was once considered quite rare, but it is now quite common, although this is the first time I have seen it myself. A well-recognised growth on roses is that of the robin's pincushion, a gall caused by yet another wasp. The whole ecology of the gall is less well known and can get quite complicated. There is a woody structure inside the pincushion which can contain from 3 to 60 chambers that each contain a larva, but these aren't necessarily all the same species. The original occupants will be that of the larva of the wasp that caused the gall to begin with, but these larvae can be parasitised by a different type of wasp, and these in turn can be parasitised by yet another. There are also larvae that can inhabit the gall independently and live alongside the original inhabitants, but these can also be parasitised, and these parasites in turn can also be parasitised, and so on. In one study of a single robin's pincushion, a total of 14 different species of insects were recorded emerging. So the next time you see a robin's pincushion, just stop and reflect on the battles going on inside. And that is all for this month. Thank you for watching, and please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with the latest news from the patch.